Hey, what if we told you there are places where you can buy a robot wife for your pleasure in Japan? Sounds ridiculous, right? Well, there are even more bizarre things in this country. You see, while you may be inclined to picture high-speed trains, ancient temples, and anime shows whenever you think of the land of Japan, you'll be surprised to find out that there's much more than meets the eye in these parts. As a matter of fact, what is considered wild or extreme in other countries might only pass as a regular Tuesday night in this land of the rising sun, and even that is just the tip of the iceberg compared to the real deal you will soon come to find out here. This is the dark side of the Japanese nightlife, and you can rest assured you've never seen anything like it before. Curious yet? Well, here are 5 dark secrets of Japanese nightlife that you never knew about. Number 5. Shenanigans of the red light districts. If you are even a tiny bit familiar with the Japanese nightlife, then chances are that you may have heard of the red light districts. But like many other tourists in these parts, you may not be fully aware of the shenanigans that go on in these districts. To the uninformed observer, the red light districts may just seem like avenues where people go to blow off steam after a long day by indulging in regular nighttime activities. After all, these districts are not so different from the others during the day. So what are the chances that they are different at night? Well, you are in for a shocker. For starters, the red light districts are not your regular hangout spots, and a visit will definitely convince you that there is more than meets the eye here. Firstly, the term red light district is becoming more of a general term used to refer to a pleasure district in urban areas, where sex-oriented businesses transpire. It generally features adult entertainment centers like strip clubs, adult theaters, and even sex shops. The culture of red light districts has been in Japan since the 16th and 17th centuries, and it's still as active as ever today. However, it has integrated some modern systems. Obviously, these districts are a major part of Japanese nightlife, and if you have not heard of it, it's because the rules of the red light districts are somewhat strict and prohibit visitors from taking photos or recording videos. In fact, there are more of these districts in Japan than you can imagine, although some are more established than others. If you really want to explore what the red light districts really feel like in Japan, then you should head down to Shinjuku's Kabukicho district, where you'll be totally mesmerized by what is the largest of such districts in all of Asia. The Sleepless Town, as it's often called, has an array of host and hostess clubs, casinos, nightclubs, love hotels, and everything that makes the nights go wild. No doubt your eyes will be open to another side of Japan you never imagined after you visit here. Number 4. The Yakuza Gangs. The Japanese nightlife is often so lively, and it usually kicks off even before the sun sets. Plus, it even lasts up until the wee hours of the morning. But if you think it's all fun and games throughout, then you're terribly mistaken. You see, the nighttime activities in these parts are definitely not for the weak because they come with huge risks. From petty thieves and swindlers to pickpockets and armed robbers, the nightlife in Japan really does expose the dark side of the country. But then, the most frightening of them all are the Yakuzas that literally own the streets. The Yakuzas are members of organized crime syndicates in Japan, and they have been known to run the streets in these parts since the 17th century. These groups are known to either own or operate almost every nighttime establishment in big cities like Tokyo, Osaka, Yokohama, and the notorious Kabukicho district. They are widely known for their sketchy activities that include extortion, gambling, abduction, blackmail, drug trafficking, and smuggling of illegal goods. But most of all, they are known to be ruthless in their dealings and would often resort to violence to keep control of their territory or display a show of strength. Although the number of these Yakuzas has significantly reduced over the years, the tradition is very much intact, and there are still over 10,000 members of these organized crime groups in Japan today. They are often very easy to identify with their fierce looks and elaborate tattoos, and there aren't many worse things than getting on the wrong side of the Yakuzas here in Japan. Number 3. Illegal casinos. Talk about the dark side of Japan's nightlife, and one thing that will definitely stare you in the face is the widespread betting habit in these parts. It is so common that tourists visiting Japan usually have a hard time believing that casinos and other related betting establishments are illegal in the country. But the truth of the matter is that almost all betting activities are deemed prohibited by the law here, except for the pachinko, which is typically regarded as an amusement outlet. Sadly though, the restrictions placed on betting only do little or nothing to slow down the otherwise increasing betting culture in this country. Heck, betting has so much penetrated the general nightlife in Japan that the government is seriously considering legalization in a bid to get a bit of a control over it. Reports even suggest that Japanese officials have approved a controversial plan to build the country's first legal gambling resort. Meanwhile, the number of illegal casinos in the country is currently rising at an alarming rate, and they are usually disguised as restaurants or bars with the inner chambers reserved for heavy betting activities. And as you'd expect, most of these illegal casinos are run by the ferocious and ever-terrifying Yakuzas. This indeed is one of the dark parts of the Japanese nightlife. Number 2. The Japanese Geishas. Another aspect of Japanese nightlife that you'll hardly find anywhere else is the maid cafes that feature geishas, or hosts and hostesses, as they're often referred to in modern society. These geishas specialize in providing expert escort services in nightclubs and cafes, and they constitute a rather dark side to what is usually a buzzing nightlife in these parts. Of course, escort services are not specific to Japan alone, but there are specific details that make the concept unique and add to the already shady nightlife in these parts. Firstly, the geisha concept is deeply rooted in the culture and traditions of Japan, and its history is one that is tightly interwoven with the dark side of the country's nightlife. You see, the geishas have always been a part of the nighttime entertainment in Japan since they were popularized back in the 1700s. Back then, geishas were highly rated. In fact, most of the girls in this line of work were usually given by their parents at a very young age to learn and master the art. Crazy, right? Well, the thing is that the occupation itself was seen as a very respectable trade commonly associated with nobility, especially since the geishas were trained to attend to the rich and high-ranking members of the society. But contrary to common misconceptions, these ladies didn't engage in sensual activities of any form those days, as it isn't part of their job description. If anything, they were mainly categorized as artists, and they usually entertained their clients by singing, dancing, or making small talk. Fast forward to today, and the geisha tradition remains a significant part of Japanese nightlife. The occupation is now refined to better suit modern societies, and instead of geishas, they are now referred to as hosts and hostesses. Of course, the number of geishas in Japan has dwindled drastically over the years, but you can still explore their services in bars and nightclubs around the country. Number 1. Rent a girlfriend. Now, hear this. For people who find the services of geishas too casual and demand a more intimate and longer affair, the dark side of Japan's nightlife offers a service that ultimately allows you to rent a girlfriend. Yes, you can rent an actual human to play the role of your girlfriend for a particular period in this country. So, when Japanese people get lonely, instead of taking out time to build relationships, they can just take the shortcut and rent themselves a partner for however long they want. Now, that's pretty extreme, isn't it? Well, certainly not for the ever so open-minded Japanese, because from the number of customers making use of this service, it seems like a very popular concept in these parts. The service generally costs about 12,000 yen for a 2-hour period, with an additional 2,000 yen as a selection fee. Although the terms and conditions of this service can vary for different organizations, the services are usually not adult-oriented and will only act as companions. And hey, if you think this is as wild as it gets, wait until you learn that you can actually buy a robot girlfriend as a more permanent companion. Indeed, Japan is known for its ultra-modern technology that has facilitated lots of inventions, including human live robots programmed to substitute for a real girlfriend. Now, that's a shocker, and you'll be left completely mesmerized by not just the technology itself, but also the excellence with which they operate. No doubt, Japanese nightlife knows no limits, and perhaps that's what makes it so popular today. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel now for more wild and exciting facts about your favorite travel destinations. Also, check out the description below for links to other fantastic videos you will absolutely love.